thing. Why not? Have you got time? I don't want to take you away from your duty.
I'm on a lap for saying that pun about being your and Ron's greatest fan. I think I can hear the song.
All right. Come now, my friends, and listen to me as I tell the tale of these brave knights three. Tales of adventure and tales that are true. And as they fight to protect me and you. See, it's really nice.
I do like that.
First into battle and last to retreat. Forgive me if my knees go weak as they patrol. I got so nervous. They patrol the streets. And I need you all to cheer when I say cheer.
All right.
So let's have another cheer. Woo! For the knights of Mythos, the knights of Evermore. So let's have another cheer. Woo! For the knights of
You heard that song? Where'd you find that?
It's on the YouTubes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pulling all kinds of stuff from your time at Evermore Park that I plan to insert afterward, just so you know. So just
fabulous.
audio, you know. I guess I shouldn't say all kinds of stuff from that. I just barely finished pulling the audio for when you put helium into bagpipes.
Oh my gosh, that was so funny.
We're gonna pull all of this. But
I was so embarrassed, yeah.
We can't get too far ahead here. Oh, by the way,
Right.
I wanted to mention I do really like your email address.
Oh, well, my
Classic.
maiden name is Money,
Right,
you know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's I still in my brain you're Laura Money, you know, and so I was like, oh yeah. What is it? Brockbank? Something.
Yeah,
maybe?
Brockbank.
That's right.
Yep. So.
That's a classy way to do it.
Moneybanks.
I
Yep.
like it. I like that. Yeah, actually, as I'm scrolling now, there are quite a few videos that include Piper on the YouTubes.
Okay,
Piper
yeah,
learns a lesson.
There's a ton of them. I mean, just story. If you get into the story, that's kind of what those videos were for. Was for people who wanted to like stay in the loop.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I have a bunch of my songs on my channel called The Braided Bard that I wrote for Evermore. So.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That's right. I think I saw, let's see here. I'm going to pull that up right now so I am able to add it to the notes easily. Because I remember when you did a few tunes for St. Patrick's Day. Was it 2-3 years ago?
For who?
I thought that
for you guys?
No, it was just some videos you were doing.
Oh, yes.
Voice, whistle, and drum, I think. Did you?
Yeah,
also
it was during
do some
COVID.
strings? Yeah.
I did, yeah.
Here we go. All right, good. I've pulled a bunch of stuff. This would be really cool. What would be really fun if you're down with it, Laura, is usually these episodes come in with drones and then go out with drones. But whenever I have a guest that's got some recorded stuff, I like to instead come in on something they wrote and go out on something they wrote. So, are there any of these that in particular you'd especially like to have played at the beginning and end of the episode?
Ooh, well, I mean, Give Another Cheer for the Knights is great. The Beyond the Gates one is really good. And then there is one that I actually did record the bagpipes with. It's meant to be a lament, so it's called Lament for Wen Weaver.
Okay.
So that one actually has a song I wrote.
Perfect. Well, we'll definitely make sure that that's one of them.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay. So here we go now. We're talking. I don't like to make this too. I mean, I've never been a host of anything else, so I don't know what is standard or not. But I get the impression, because I listen to a lot of podcasts, that there's often like a lot of pre-show conversation. But I feel like if I did that, I'd miss a lot of stuff. And then during the actual air quotes recording, I'd have to be like, you remember when you were telling me that thing? Tell me that thing again. You know what I mean? So
right.
So let's just dive into it.
Yeah,
I want to know, Laura. Tell me all about you first of all. This is the most important thing. Where were you born? What was life like growing up? At what point did you encounter bagpipes? What other stuff did you like doing? How did your parents feel about it? That kind of stuff. So start with birth, and I'll ask you questions as you go along.
All right, you bet. Okay, so, well, thanks again for having me on the show, first of all. You're awesome.
You're awesome for rescheduling so many times. I think I started asking you for this in like March, so sorry about that.
It was the best birthday present ever, I tell you what. Yeah, well, I was born in Utah. My dad is actually a doctor, but he did not deliver me, believe it or not. I was full term, but
What's up with that? Was he busy delivering other babies or
no,
something?
he said that it was because he was just too nervous. He's like, because he knows what can go wrong.
Yeah.
As a doctor, you know what can go wrong.
Yeah.
He's like, can't take that pressure. So,
No, that makes
yeah.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. But yeah, it was interestingly enough, I came in like I've always been really tiny. I was full term, but only like 5.5 pounds.
Oh yeah, teensy.
Yeah, just always been kind of teensy tiny and all short, which is part of my charm, I guess. But so we moved to Mississippi when I was little, and it was fun because that was where I learned how to talk. And so I used to have a Southern accent. I said y'all.
Did you really?
I absolutely did. And coming back to Utah when I was about 6 years old, 5 years old. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but we moved to Elk Ridge, Utah. It's a beautiful place. I loved growing up in Elk Ridge.
Was it
and,
in my memory, having grown up in Payson, Elk Ridge was like this new town on the hill. Does it have like longer history, or was it like a new place when you moved there?
Actually, a lot of the houses were really old. I mean, this was in the 80s, but I think a lot of them were built in the 60s and 70s when I moved up there. So it was a pretty old community to start out with. Like got the Schulers and the Quackenbushes and the Jorgensens that had been there forever before we even moved there.
Yeah.
Well, if you're from Payson, people might know,
Yeah.
Right, no. But yeah, so we moved to Elk Ridge, and it was not super crowded at the time, There's a lot of open fields, and so yeah, we lived there, and I grew up there, and I took piano. The start of my music was probably I took piano lessons from Sister Burton. She taught me how to play piano, and I hated practicing.
Of course, I knew a bunch of Burtons too. This is fun.
Did you really know the Burtons?
Yeah, well, I knew some Burtons. I don't know if they were cousins or what, but Cody Burton was a Burton that I went to school with.
Yeah, they've got to be related. Everybody's related,
Yep. Get down there
in Utah.
In South Utah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I started.
Do you have other siblings too who played music as well?
Ooh, yeah, for sure. Well, to start out with, you got to go before I was born. My grandma, my mother's mother, was like this primo singer, like opera singer, and she played the piano like a dream. And
here in Utah, or was she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they moved everywhere because my mom was a Navy brat, so they kind of
gotcha.
moved in California and Texas and Japan and kind of cool places. Mm-hmm. But she was a Catholic actually, and was like in charge of this beautiful Catholic choir in California. And when she joined the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, this was after she was married. Then she did a lot with church choirs and stuff, but she said she missed the beautiful cathedral sounds. So
certainly, yeah. There's definitely more. There's more of a what would you like? More of a Protestant sort of like minimalism in a lot of the instrumentation and music in Mormonism compared to Catholicism.
Yeah, but that's kind of where it all started. And so my mom made sure we had piano lessons, and she encouraged us to do choir, and she would sing alto in church. So I kind of grew up just hearing harmony.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that was really fun. And I've got an older sister who plays the piano way better than I do, and she took for many years. She's the best of us. And she actually lives here in Salem, so that's my sister Sarah. And then my younger brother Nathan, he also plays the piano. Like I said, a lot of us play the piano, and yeah, he's a doctor now. And let's see, I've got another sister, Janelle, and then we've got Marlena and Alicia. So there's 6 of us.
Yeah, it just kept going. I thought you were. Every time I thought you were at the end of the list, there were more.
Well, I guess 6 is an okay number. I like it.
That's a great number. Wait a minute. Is that how many?
Yeah.
How many siblings do I have?
Ooh.
No, that's
memory
about,
time.
That's about right. No. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to take you off the tracks there, but I was just
No,
curious,
you're
in
good.
what kind of environment did you have siblings who were already playing piano, and so it was like, of course you're going to play piano, not like there's not even a question.
Yes, but where I got my love of let's see, the next instrument I played was the flutophone in 5th grade at Barnett Elementary.
Hey, I went to Barnett Elementary too.
Gosh!
Did we both already know that? Wait.
We might not have.
Was Mrs. Money the secretary?
Yes, and she's related to me.
She is related to you. What the? Hang on.
Anna Money.
Wait, did
Yeah.
any of
Yeah.
your siblings take piano at Art City Music Academy?
No, we all took from different people in Elkridge mostly.
Because I couldn't remember if it was Mrs. Money or the other lady whose name it must be the other lady whose name I can't remember, who was in the office there when I was at Barnett. It must have been the other lady had like grandkids or something who took piano with me at Art City Music Academy in Springville.
Wow.
So I was like, oh my goodness, Laura, were we in the same piano class? No, but we did go to the same elementary school. That's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna keep.
No, you're good. Please
try to
do.
hold
No.
onto the thread.
Well, it makes me feel better knowing that like you've got these on separate tracks, because my biggest problem is I hate talking over people, but I love to talk. And so it's like, I want to hear you talking. I want to hear me talking. Let's just all talk at the same time. But yeah, so 5th grade flutophones for Christmas. I mean, do you remember playing the flutophone?
Yeah, totally.
You know, nowadays kids play recorders, but flutophone was really fun. And
But I learned one. They had some at the school.
Oh, yeah. I don't remember if I got to keep mine or not, but I just loved figuring out songs on it. Cause like piano, the same thing. I quit piano after like 2 years. Because I didn't want to play those songs. I wanted to play the songs that I wanted to play. And so I'd like listen by ear to learn songs by piano. And so I did the same thing with the flutophone. And they're like, for Christmas, you know, they're like, Laura, can you play this song? We were at the mall. I remember one time, you know, we played at the Orem Mall. Shoot, I can't remember what it was called.
Mall?
Yeah, University Mall. And we were playing a song, and the teacher randomly just asked me to play, hey, do you know how to play It's a Marshmallow World in December? And I'm like, kind of. And so she had me play that song.
Had you ever done it before?
No.
So you just went for it. All right.
Yeah, I had it on my piano books, like in one of the Reader's Digest piano books at home, and I vaguely knew it. It wasn't great, but I mean, I was rather excited that I could entertain people, and I've loved entertaining people ever since.
Yeah. For anybody who doesn't know or who hasn't already Googled it, in my memory at least, because I haven't touched a flutophone since I was, 7 years old, but in my memory, it was kind of like if a recorder and an ocarina had a baby.
Yep, white and red and kind of a fun sound. Yep. Yeah. I like that. I'm going to use that.
You just went for it though. I wonder, like, I have wondered about that before, because like we'll get to more of this in your story, how you are an entertainer, but
thanks.
Just like I have thought before about like, what is it like, the difference in experience for a person if they get some taste of performance when they're too young to be scared about it. You know what I mean? And, and can just like kind of run with that momentum. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So if you want to know like the performing bit.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Part of it, I think I just came that way. Like we've got home videos of me in Mississippi. Actually, we were in a ballet class and a dance class and gymnastics and stuff. And so my mom just had me in these classes with my sister. And I was just up there doing my own thing. I like sometimes did the dance moves they did and sometimes I didn't. And I think I had a very understanding mother, and I've also been kind of a weird child, and I loved doing voices, and I loved, copying the Disney, princess voices and
I'm imagining like you that. Being like this just like the epitome of like the very tiny but like bursting with energy and personality, like Southern fried Mississippi girl,
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Just talk to anybody and love to sing, love to dance, love to be weird. I mean, I was weird. I made weird faces, made weird voices, but my mom, in her wisdom, was very understanding, and she never made me feel like I was awkward or weird. Like she just would let me wear whatever clothes I wanted as long as they were modest, and she didn't treat me like I was a weirdo. And so she just let me be creative, and I think that just having her just be cool with whatever I came up with, and she's very calm about it. She wasn't like super praiseworthy. She's like, okay, that's Laura, and that's just kind of where I never got afraid of performing, I guess.
Well, good job, Mom.
Yeah, Mom. Thanks, Mom.
So you get back to Utah and you carry on with piano, and what else comes up? What else are you doing?
Let's see. So my mom still had me in dance class, and we did a lot of sports. Let's see. She had me in. We did the Central Utah Stars.
If
you know what that is.
I'm super high on this, like us knowing the same people and.
Oh gosh.
Was the dance class at Petite Neat?
Okay. So that comes later. Okay. I had an Irish dance class at Petite Neat, actually, and this is a good story because I didn't know Irish music like until I was how old was I? Must have been at least 11. 11 or 12. Yep, like fifth or sixth grade-ish. And so my mom would just sign us up for random things to see what we like to do. And I signed up for this. She signed us up for this Irish dance class, me and my sister. And I remember they gave us a soundtrack to practice with, and I would take it home. And this was back when we had tapes. We had a tape. It wasn't even a CD. And I remember laying on the carpet in my bedroom with this tape and just listening to it over and over again in the dark at nighttime. Just like, this music just gets into my bones.
Really?
I couldn't stop listening to it. I loved it. And we only did the Irish dance class, for whatever it was, like 6 months. And we did a little performance and it was fun. But like that soundtrack just stuck with me.
Was it like hornpipes, jigs and reels kind of stuff? Like
Yeah, all that stuff.
Concertinas and whistles and all that.
I don't know where that tape is now, though. I lost it.
Yeah, my little sister Sydney also took an Irish dance class at Petite Neat. And so there you go.
Oh my gosh.
Just all of this. This is so fun. Carry on.
Oh,
I'll keep
I'm so glad.
Find little connections here and there.
Well, but did you take an Irish dance class?
I never took an Irish dance class. I should have, but I was too much. I'd like to think myself very egalitarian now, but as a child, I was maybe too aware of gender stereotypes to have ever been caught dead. Well, I don't know. I did theater actually, so maybe I don't know.
Oh, I didn't know you did theater.
I did do theater. I say that, and it sounds more highfalutin than it is. I mean, I did children's plays at Petite Neat, But
no, wait. I did like a couple of plays at Petite Neat too. That was how I got into the youth theater program.
Okay, was it
with
part
Spanish
of
Fork?
Was it part of the upstage thing with Elizabeth? Her mom, Vance. Man, it's ridiculous that I can't remember her name.
No, it's okay.
It's because I'm nervous. That's all.
Oh, don't be nervous. I mean, you're editing this later, right?
Yeah, but my editing is very minimal.
No worries. So I was actually
Corinne Vance there.
Corinne Vance. So I didn't know Corinne Vance, but I knew Crystal Keel, who helped with the program. Yeah, and so that was when the Spanish Fork Youth Theater kind of program was based out of Petite Neat. They'd come and do Petite Neat, and then they would go to Spanish Fork, and then they would go up to the Sierra Theater. And so again, when I was in 6th grade, my mom signed me up for. Thank you, Mom. Mom, you kept signing me up for stuff. So yeah, she signed me up we did Aesop's Fables, it was a little summer thing. And then she's like, do you want to do this in the school year? And we did Narnia in Spanish Fork. And I actually only got a part of like a dancing deer or something. And I was like, that's so beneath me, because I just wanted a bigger part. And I almost quit. And she's like, well, maybe you should stick it out. And so I did. And it ended up, I actually was in that youth theater program every year till I graduated high school. And then they said, hey, why don't you come back and be a teacher? And so I've been teaching youth theater for 20 years. I still haven't stopped.
Wow, really?
I know.
I'm going to have you meet my kids soon because I think they're about the right age to give it a try.
Oh my gosh. I love kids.
Yep. Yeah, Crystal Keel Crystal Keel and I were spouses in The Music Man once.
Oh my gosh.
We did a few shows together, but yeah, that was one of them where we played opposite each other.
Well, I'll remember you to her when I see her next. That's fun. But yeah, so man, if you want to talk about like my career as an entertainer, like it goes everywhere. I think we did a school play. Okay, get this, at Barnett Elementary. Do you remember when they used to do Odyssey of the Mind?
Oh, I was in Odyssey of the Mind. Yeah.
James!
Were we in there
my
together?
Gosh. I don't know. When did you graduate?
07.
Dude, you're way younger than me.
No, come on.
We were not even.
I thought it was like 2 or 3 years difference.
Dude, I graduated in 2000.
No, really? Then how did
yes.
But I know that I've known you for a really long time. So what's up with that? How did I know you?
Because Payson. Just because Payson.
That's true. It's not like it's a huge city or anything. Huh?
And because, like, I don't know, I don't care how old people are or how young people are. I will just make friends with anyone. So. Do
you think it's partly too like you have a vivivacious personality and you're not very tall, and so you just maybe always seemed younger?
Maybe
we're about the same age.
I'll take that. Well, that's nice of you. Thanks. Yeah, but yeah, no. Odyssey of the Mind was huge in kind of helping me develop my creativity,
it made a huge difference in my life too. That was a really important thing for me.
And like watching the other people, like especially the older people, be in place, I literally memorized their parts. And we have them all in our home videos. Just I idolized them. It was just like, you guys are the coolest. And so I'd memorized their parts. And I played a granny in 3rd grade. That was my actual first theater, I guess you could say, part. And I played an old grandma lady, and it was so fun.
Yeah, and so we should describe just briefly for anybody who's suffering through this. Odyssey of the Mind is like they split these groups of kids into teams. It's like this creative thinking thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of like sports too. Like there would be competitions and there were different things, but the main event was you'd be presented at the beginning of the school year with like, here's your problem. Now you need to solve it in the form of a skit. And so like sometimes it was like a mathematics problem, like with physics, you had to build something that could hold a certain amount of weight, but you had to work that into your skit somehow. And sometimes it was like, I don't know. I remember doing one that was like mechanics. I remember.
Right.
Were they all something mechanical like that? I don't know.
No, not always. We had one that was dinosaur related. It was science related sometimes, and my sister did it too. And they had to build a lot of machines. There's one where you did balsa wood where it had to see how much weight. You had to build a structure to see how much weight it could take. Yeah. But sometimes they were just creativity where it's like you have to include Dr. Seuss in your
that's right.
thing, and you had to include dinosaurs.
Yeah, and I did one that was like, I remember now that it was like a marketing thing. We had to come up with a product. And also like make our skit into somehow a presentation of that product, why you need it, what it's good for, that kind of stuff too.
Right. And when I was in 6th grade, we did it into middle school somehow. I don't know how, but do you remember Chrissy Vest or the Vests at all?
Oh, for sure. Brady Vest was
her brother. Oh my gosh, or her cousin. What, I don't know. They're all related.
Something like that. Yeah, I think their grandpa was the mayor once. Like again, small town.
Wow. I love small towns. But yeah, when we were in 6th grade, that was our last year doing it, and we actually had a musical challenge. They said you had to build a musical instrument that you could play without touching it. And so that was a fun challenge.
Hey, fun connection. One of the years that I did Odyssey of the Mind, we made a bagpipe for one of our
challenges.
For one of the challenges, and what we did is we just took a bag and like tied PVC pipe into it, and then I like spit into it like a didgeridoo, like a tiny like a trumpet, you know. And we pretended like that counted, but that there you go. Bagpipes
totally
are still here.
Wait, did you know about bagpipes when you guys made that? Were you into bagpipes when you did that?
I was into it. I wasn't playing bagpipes yet, but my family was always very enthusiastic about bagpipes for sure. Like it had already been very clearly described to me that my future would hold bagpipes, according to my father. You know, like I was going to play bagpipes. So
cool. I didn't know that. Yeah. See, I love that we're talking because like we didn't get a lot of chance to visit, you know, and we're doing performances and stuff, but together. So this is fun to get to know more about you too.
Yeah, but I keep on. I'm getting too excited about all these connections, so I'm going to try to hold back a little bit and let you tell a coherent story about how you got to where you are. So.
Oh gosh, coherent is asking a lot. Okay, so let's see. We're in 6th grade, Odyssey of the Mind. I've been playing the flutophone, ukulele in 5th grade. But when the band people came around, you know, they're like, "Hey, you can play all these different instruments," and I was torn. I was like, "Do I play drums?" Or like, because I felt really good at the flutophone. I'm like, I felt competent at it already. So I'm like, do I play the flute? And they're like, well, you should probably go for the clarinet because it's the most closest to fingering. So I'm like, clarinet or drums? So I went with the clarinet and I played that in 6th grade. And I remember like almost flunking because I wouldn't fill out those dang practice sheets. I mean, did you have, anyone who's been in band, you know, knows you got to fill out those practice sheets, but so I played the clarinet.
So you played, like you had fun playing music, but you didn't like track it, and so you almost failed.
Right. Yeah, I know. What would happen if I flunked out? Yeah. Also, what would have happened? Like one time I was at that. Remember the old middle school in Payson? It was the old one right across from the park. That's where I went to middle school. And so I remember going there for band practices. And one time my mom just didn't pick me up. And, you know, I'm like, well, I can't really just walk home. That's a long way for a 6th grader. And I was sitting there on that porch for like 2 hours waiting for my mom to show up. And so I'm like, well, at least I had my clarinet with me. That's lucky.
Sit there and play some sad songs on your clarinet.
Yeah. Oh man, now I've got a good picture in my head.
If it makes your mom feel any better, I have also been forgotten at various, you know, like after wrestling practice or after band practice, stuff like that, all over Payson. So.
Yeah, and I think playing was a generous term. I more squeaked, you know, at the time.
Squeaked. Some sad squeaks.
Squeak on those reeds. Yeah, but then I kept taking band up until junior high, and then I was like, well, I really want to try choir, and I was still doing youth theater at the time, and I wanted to be in the school plays, and so in junior high I was in choir. And so I stopped playing the clarinet for 1 year, I think. No, take it back.
Were you feeling any family pressure to do choir too, with your sort of heritage of, you know, your grandma and your mom and big choir people, or was that not made a big deal?
There wasn't really pressure to do it. I just really wanted to.
Yeah.
because I really liked singing. And, well, with youth theater. So youth theater was where I got my love of singing, because there was this girl that played the White Witch in Narnia. She had the most amazing voice. And then after that year, I would sing in my garage all the White Witch songs and try to pretend I was her and, like, wanted to sound as good as she did. So
I don't have a clear enough memory of it to be like, oh yeah, I saw you, but I definitely went and saw that show. That was in Spanish Fork, right?
We did do it in Spanish Fork, yeah, and then we went up to the Sarah. Like, we did it in I don't know how they did that, but they moved the whole set up to the Sarah Shell so we could do it outdoor performance too. You saw that play?
I saw it in Spanish Fork, yeah, for sure.
Oh my gosh, well, there you go. Yeah, I was in that show. But yeah, so I loved singing anyways. There was not a lot of pressure to do it, although my mom would generally say stick with something for a year. I was also doing taekwondo at the time. Like, we did a ton of stuff. Dude, like, I owe so much to the fact that...
Were you ever home?
Yes, we played a lot of games in my backyard. Yeah. Like, we'd make up games. My best friend, Levi Lichty, lived next door. And we just would play outside. We'd make up games, like, just that creative, those creative juices. Like, that's just where I thrived. And so, like, people would say, oh, your dad's a doctor, you must be rich. And I'm like, I don't feel rich. Like, I didn't think we were rich because, like, we didn't, like, my mom was very thrifty because she grew up very poor. And so we didn't have a lot of clothes. We didn't have a lot of stuff. But now that I look back on it, now that I've had kids of my own, I'm like, oh my gosh, how did she pay for all of us to do all that stuff?
Yeah, that was the thing, right? All the money was going to signing you up for things and the gas to get you to the place.
Oh my gosh. Well, back when gas was less than $1.
Right.
And I rode my bike. Like, I rode to swim team too. I did swim team, and I'd ride my bike from Elkridge to Payson sometimes and make my mom drive me home. But
would have been a lot safer then. Now that highway between Salem and Payson is scary.
And I'd go on Goose Nest, so it wasn't too bad. Right. But, like, yeah, no, I love that the same places. But so I was just very blessed and never felt pressure to do it. It was just kind of a culture of, whatever you are interested in, let's try it out, but stick with it for a year at least. Yeah. And let's, so a lot of these things I'm saying I've come and gone with. Sure. But so I apologize. But here we come to the big moment, the bagpipes moment.
This is it, yeah.
Okay, I'm so excited to talk about this. So, so as we know, I've taken that little Irish dance class just got a taste of that Irish music, and I just was in love with it, but didn't really know where to find it, and we didn't really go to the Scottish festival. I'm embarrassed, as a family.
That's surprising because you were so close, and yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we probably went like once or twice, but it wasn't a big part of our culture in my house. But when I was in 9th grade, this was turning point. I was in the plays, and I met my good group of friends. We had Jacob Moody and Danny Caldwell and Joey Wilkinson and Justin Hadley and Ryan Adams. And notice they're all boys.
And cute boys too.
They were all so cute. Oh my gosh. Like, so much of my motivation was definitely cute boys.
Yeah.
And I'm not ashamed to say it.
I do know pretty much all that whole list of people, and I can verify they're all very handsome.
Oh, yes, very much so. And it was interesting because, I mean, like, if you scoot back a little bit, I actually in 9th grade, I needed a group of friends because I don't think my group of friends really got how weird I was, and they were kind of, embarrassed to be seen with me. And I went through a lot of I went through a lot of friend groups, and so it was kind of the first time I actually prayed to Heavenly Father, like, I need a group of friends that get me, and and I got in this play,
How about
and
a band of bagpipe boys.
Oh my gosh, it was perfect. And we did the Shakespeare play together, and we went down to the Shakespeare competition.
Oh yeah.
And we all competed together. So we spent a lot of time after school just doing stuff, and so got this group of friends through the play, and deciding if I wanted to go into marching band or stuff, and they were all taking the bagpipe class in 9th grade, and I was not. Mm-hmm. And so they were like, you should learn the bagpipe.
At the time, the bagpipe bagpipes were part of the marching band in Payson.
Yes, they were. Yeah, it was a great feeder system too. I don't know what they do nowadays, but so in my mind, all the cool boys.
Diana just does a lot of work to.
Oh gosh,
people,
Diana.
Basically.
Yeah, and I know Leanne Johnson does some help
Leanne
too there.
And her husband too. Yeah, they're helping.
Oh, those bagpipe moms, they're so good. So I saw these guys playing bagpipes, and Danny Caldwell was in that group, and he didn't know how to play the pipes, and he was going to start taking private lessons. And he's like, you should take private lessons with me. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, let's do that together. That sounds like a fun thing to do. And I mean, I had a huge crush. I'm just going to say this out loud. Huge crush on Jacob Moody. He played the prince in the play, and I played the princess. And we kind of we kind of started like a little puppy love romance that turned into, we started, being boyfriend, girlfriend our sophomore year.
The movies had, what, 3 boys, 4 boys?
Yes.
And then finally they had a girl. Good for them, right? But
yes,
all
Alicia.
serious lady killer boys for sure. All very.
Oh
very
gosh, yeah, very much so. I loved their family, but it was just such a good group to be involved with. And so, I tell people, when people say, even when I was working at Evermore, they're like, "How did you learn how to play the bagpipes? Where did this come from?" And I attribute it to 2 things. I lived in Payson, just Payson, and having it so available. Because I guess there's only 2 high schools in Utah that have bagpipe bands.
Yeah, Ben Lomond and Payson.
Ben Lomond and Payson. And then literally I learned the bagpipes for a cute boy because I just wanted to spend more time with him. And I thought he was the coolest thing ever. And I'm like, he's like, "You should learn the bagpipes." And I was like,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely. And so, yeah. And so I learned the bagpipes with private lessons with Danny Caldwell from Mr. Don Smith. Thank you, Don.
Good old Don Smith.
Oh man, he's the man. And so very grateful for all the time and effort he put into that. And I wanted to try it for the bagpipe band. And so I practiced real hard, and I made the bagpipe band in high school. And so I was part of the marching band de facto.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So that's how I got into bagpipes.
There we go. So now you're
all right.
into bagpipes.
I'm in it. I was in it, yes.
Did you play with the high school through high school, and then did you play with
yes.
Peaks at some point later?
Yes. So I played with the high school band all through my sophomore, junior, senior year. And we played at graduation. That was really special. I loved that.
Did it go
playing
well
the bagpipes
for you?
there.
Because when I played for 3 or 4 graduations, and it was like there was just like this idea that like graduation performance for the bagpipes is cursed. It will always go poorly. Did it go well for you?
As I recall, it went pretty well.
Must have been the last time that it went well.
Yeah, I don't know if I played with my sophomore or junior year, but I must have.
Yeah.
It's hard to remember, man. That was 20 years ago, dude.
Silly.
Yeah, but I loved my time in the marching band because I loved all that marching military kind of stuff. Because when I was in the dance class, we did drill downs, like for drill team.
Oh, sure.
And I was pretty good at that too. Like I think I won an award like at a national competition or state competition for like, right face, left face, at ease, attention, all that stuff. So I loved that marching band stuff. But we were kind of salty. I remember there was some bad feelings and some salty feelings. It was kind of a hard thing that if you wanted to be in the pipe band, you had to be in the marching band. Like it was a double deal. And so I think there were some pipers that were really great that just didn't want that. And so I felt like we missed out a little bit on having them there. Mm-hmm. But we still got to hang out and play bagpipes together.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But then it would have been a very natural thing to go play with White Peaks because Don Smith was running the band.
Oh, yes. Yep, that feeder system, man. So after high school, I got the Sterling Scholar in music because music has always been a huge part of my life. Mm-hmm. I took AP music and passed that test, so that was lucky. And, Mr. Dahlquist was the choir teacher, and I just took choir all throughout high school, too. And yeah, music is huge. And so, of course, I wanted to keep doing it. So I got a scholarship per UVSC back when it was Utah Valley State College.
Right.
And I was this close to going down to SUU to play bagpipes down there because it was also my dream. I had this dream, James. I had this dream because our parents took us down to the Shakespeare Festival every year since we were 12. And of course I had a crush on all the musicians, but I was like, all I want to do is grow up and sell tarts and speak in an accent and be in that green show, tarts for sale, and announce the shows and just dance and do the funny plays. So that was my side dream.
That's a great dream.
I know. And so I was like, maybe if I go down to SUU to play bagpipes down there, I'll get in the Shakespeare Festival.
Yeah.
And I do remember, I can't remember if Don Smith kind of maybe colored that situation. He's like, there's a lot of politics down there. And also the money thing. I was like, well, if I stay at home, I can, save money. So, but I was this close.
I don't remember. He told me about it, but I can't remember. Had he been at SUU himself?
Yes.
That's
yep.
right.
Yep. He and Deanne were down there. I think that's where they met. Anyways, but so there's some hard, things that went on down there that I was like, oh, well, maybe it's for the best. I did. And you'll see how this all fits together because this side dream of me being in the green show and being a performer and speaking an accent is going to come into play in a bit. But like also I think that if I would have gone down to SUU, so as a theater person, I get a little too familiar with, people physically, and just like the chances to get inappropriate for myself, I know.
Isn't it
I think
funny?
I would have.
It's such a thing, right? Why is it such a thing?
I think, well, I actually think that it's just this innate, nature that is, a very loving nature, and it just gets, if it is given its head, then it just, can get a little out of control. But it's this very innate love for people and just to interact and see people smile. But oh yeah, I could have, I think,
do you think part of it could be that like, also that like any of us who is drawn to theater, it's partly that like we like feeling loved as well. Like we want people to clap for us and stuff like that.
Oh,
and so
yeah.
you put all of us together for hours on end, day after day. Like we maybe are very likely to get a little too familiar, a little too quickly.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Well, it's like you get to, when you're in a show with someone, it's like you're best friends. And then I think the reason why drama people are so dramatic is because you're so, it's like a trauma bond almost, because there's so many problems that you have to solve being in a show together. So it's a great problem solving activity. You get close, you help each other through hard stuff, and you have all these inside jokes, but then you have to leave when the show's over, and it's emotional.
Yeah.
And you go through these ups and downs like a roller coaster. It's like, yay, we're best friends. And then, I have to say goodbye. And then we're in the show again. Yay, we're friends. And you have to constantly say goodbye to like your best friends. And so, we just make the most of it. And I don't know.
Sometimes making the most of it goes a little beyond the
Gets
line, especially in a conservative religious community.
I know. So, but anyways, I just know myself. I think, my life might have gone a different direction if, I would have been, left to my own devices, and I'm okay with that, So I'm okay with how things turned out. Yeah. I'm happy. So yeah. So kept playing bagpipes all throughout college. Let's see. Okay.
But what
now
was
you better
that?
ask.
If you were playing bagpipes all throughout college, was that mostly with White Peaks, or were you doing a lot of?
That was only. That was with White Peaks. Occasionally, I would get asked to play at like a funeral. Oh my gosh. Okay, James, I forgot. Bagpipes were so important because, my mom's family, but my mom's dad, my great grandpa, she would visit him up in Sugar House like every month. Like she's a good granddaughter, and she would take one of us to go visit him. And he started to lose his hearing after a while. And so I would bring my bagpipes and play for him. And it was one of the only things he could hear after a while. Yeah. And I just felt loved that he loved my bagpipes. Some people, they either love them or they hate them.
Right.
But he was always so enthusiastic. And so he actually passed away my senior year. And was it my senior year? No, I think it was like the year after I graduated, because I remember wearing my White Peaks kilt. And so I played at his funeral, and I just, I was so grateful that I could play the bagpipes. And in that solemn moment, when bagpipes are so appropriate, and we actually had a bagpipe connection where I played my bagpipes for him while he was alive. And gosh, I'm getting teary-eyed just remembering it now.
Yeah, no, that is special.
But yeah, so I'd play at funerals, and I'd play for the odd thing here and there. When I actually played in a parade, like a couple of parades on my own, like for my ward when I was first married.
That's for anybody who's not plugged into Mormonism, a ward is like a local congregation in church.
Thank you. I actually got kicked out of a play.
I've got a few friends who I know, at least two people who I know listen to this who aren't Mormon. So, I'll translate for them if nobody else.
And I apologize right now because my vernacular is I just talk, and I don't even think about it. And I appreciate that because I'm not good at that kind of thing. So I appreciate you doing that. So I actually got kicked out of a play once because I chose to play the bagpipes in a children's parade or something, and I was late for a rehearsal. This was at the Sarah Theater, and it was kind of sad. I was playing Martha in The Secret Garden. It was like one of my dream roles. Yeah. And it was like literally 2 weeks before the performance, and it was a big scandal. Well, I've been late for they're like, wait, that was three rehearsals you were late for. And the only reason they were able to do that is because they had a backup Martha. And so
I was say, like, what? Beggars can't be choosers. This is community theater. What are they thinking?
But Utah Community Theater, you've got a lot of talent. A lot of people. The talent pool in Utah is huge. So that was kind of sad. But I did play those bagpipes and things. And so
was the Sarah Theater? Is that the Shell, the outdoor one?
Yes. Yeah, the outdoor theater.
We live super close to that theater.
Oh, isn't it beautiful?
We live close enough that I can listen to the concerts when I'm out doing my yard work, and the overflow parking ends up on our street, so they give us free tickets every season.
Very cool.
Yeah, lucky us.
Yeah. And I was actually in the Into the Woods. It wasn't at the Shell, but it was in the indoor theater. Yeah. And I played Little Red. That was one of my other favorite dream roles.
Laura, guess what?
What?
I did Into the Woods at Petite once, and I was the big bad wolf.
Oh my gosh! Okay, we're gonna have to sing that song together sometime. That creepy, gross song. No, just kidding.
Let's not sing that song. Actually,
yeah, let's not. let's not and say we didn't. But no, that was so fun. Oh my gosh, what a small.
Hey friends,
world.
just hopping in here to give you the standard quick note, make you aware that this podcast is something I love doing. I'll always keep doing it for free. It's something that I love doing, so it's no big deal for me to keep doing it. I really like doing it. But if you want to send me money, I'm not gonna stop you. The easiest way to do that is on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/DroningOnPodcast. We do regular drawings over there for bagpipey albums, and we haven't got to any books of music yet, sheet music and stuff like that. That's something we should. I meant to do from the beginning. We'll get doing some of that maybe before the year's over here. All the patrons are in the figurative hat for those drawings, and there are other benefits to being a member as well. They're all listed there at patreon.com/DroningOnPodcast. Also, I've got this little side project I'm still running, bagpipeswag.com, trying to make some cool bagpipe and drum pipe band inspired designs and stuff like that. It's also a place where other pipe bands or groups or pipers as individuals can sell their merch and get paid for it too. So if you're interested in doing that, let me know. But right now, this episode's coming out in the middle of October. You might have seen it on social media already, but just in case you didn't, I've got a special edition of the Memento Mori design over there, Fac Musica Interim. Now, I don't speak Latin very fluently, but what I meant for that translation to be is, remember you shall die, that's the Memento Mori thing. But then the Fac Musica Interim is supposed to mean, at least, if you meet any fluent Latin speakers, don't ask them about this, but I think it's pretty close. It's meant to say, make music in the meantime, or meanwhile, make some music. And it's a fun design. So I'm doing a special edition of it in October where it's got this nice Halloween-y orange, printing it on black. And here's the thing, I'm selling it at $15 per shirt, which, I'm not even joking, is some of the orders, depending on the size and how far it ships, are going to cost me just a little bit of money. But here, I'll be super transparent with you. Here's the reasons I'm doing it. One is that it's fun, and it's just a thrill to me every time I see something I've designed on somebody else. And so I want to get more stuff out there. Another, because I'm just feeling I'm in a very grateful and appreciative mood right now, having a lot of fun doing these bagpipey projects and stuff like that. Another is that I want to get people on the website, because my hope is if you go there for the cheap shirt, you'll see other shirts that you really like, and you'll buy some at the regular price, or you'll put together a holiday shopping list for your significant other or something like that. And then another is that I want to get some more social media activity going on with the bagpipe swag thing. So bagpipes.swag on Instagram and Facebook. That's where I post photos of the new products and stuff like that. So follow it. Maybe get yourself a shirt. And here's the promo, is that if you get one of these shirts and then tag Bagpipe Swag in a photo or video of you wearing it, then I'm going to do a drawing at the end of the month on November 1st for someone to win a $45 gift card to use on Bagpipe Swag. So go grab one, post some photos, and see if you don't win a gift card. Start on your holiday shopping there with that or something like that, Don't forget, you can write into the show at TheDroningOnPodcast@gmail.com. There'll be links for all this stuff in the show notes. And let's get back to talking with Laura. She's awesome.
I mentioned that I was married by this point. I got married to my husband, Cooper Brockbank. And so when people say, I dated Jacob Moody all throughout high school and kind of thought I was going to marry him, and, wrote to him on his mission, his religious mission. I wrote to a lot of friends that were on missions, and it didn't end up working out. And so I was just grateful.
Just to make sure, that's a whole thing for if a Mormon boy goes on a mission, then if there's a girl writing to him, like to say I'll write you on your mission, it's kind of a commitment. It's like a whole thing, right? It's like
actually, I didn't think of it that way, because
did you not?
No, my mom is funny. You can tell my mom had a lot to do with stuff. She's like, those guys are out there for 2 years, and it's a service. If you write them letters, how could you not write them, just to give them a friendly note.
So I should say then, for some people, that's what it means. For some people. It's like a wink thing. Like, I'll write to you means I'll wait for you, in many ways.
Oh.
For some people, at least.
For some, I was writing, at one point, James, I was writing 20 missionaries all at once. and it wasn't because I was a player.
Keep your options open.
Oh, but there was definitely that element there because I was like, well, when you do get home,
Right. Yeah.
and that was how me and my husband how I really fell in love. I had a crush on every boy in high school, and my husband and I,
if Jacob Moody happens to hear this, let's not let him feel too good about himself. He wasn't the only one you had a crush on, right?
Well, while we were dating, absolutely, he was the only one I had a crush on. You know what I mean? But I mean, you just have like those little friendship crushes on people. But yeah, just like I just love people, and so I actually fell in love with my husband through letters because he was in my ward, but like we didn't date or anything. And then we went to high school together, and so he graduated the same year I did. And so I kind of saw him around. We rode the bus together and kind of sat together and chatted, just as friends to have someone to talk to because I lived in Elk Ridge and rode the bus.
It's a longest bus ride for sure from Elk Ridge over to any school in Payson.
And I did drive, but I rode the bus to save money, and I had to, anyways. And when I was in, marching band, we had to get rides anyways. Sorry, I digress. I'm a little, I'm just excited to tell all these details.
No, I'm just charmed by the idea of anybody falling in love through letters. I think that's a lovely thing.
Well, yeah, oh my gosh. And he wrote poetry, and like, it never felt like he was like trying to win my heart. I just fell in love with the fact that he like, never told me what, I think he wanted me to hear, you know what I mean? Or what he thought I wanted to hear. He was just himself. And yeah, so we wrote, and I teased him. I was like, how come you never took me on a date? Like before you went on your mission? He's like, 'cause I had to earn all the money myself. He was constantly working. And so he almost took me to prom, when me and Jacob were on a break kind of. And I thought I wasn't going to go to prom. And I'd already handmade my dress, and
wow.
We ended up not going together. And so my mom was like, we got to find you a date. And it was like, kind of, is he going to take me? Is he not? And so everybody had already gotten a date by then. And long story short, I went with one of my theater friends from Spanish Fork, and it was lots of fun.
I think it was, I was just double checking to make sure because I have misattributed quotes before, but I believe it was, I can verify it was Jane Austen who said, a person who can write a long letter with ease cannot write ill.
Oh gosh. And
so that's
we,
him, huh?
Yeah. And me and my husband, like we had contests to see, like, I think he wrote me I wrote him like a 10-page letter. Oh. And so he wrote me back like an 11-page letter. So it kind of became a competition because I'm highly competitive.
His handwriting getting bigger and bigger as he went along? Larger.
His handwriting was beautiful and way better than mine, and so I was like, "Wow, this is very attractive handwriting." Yowza!
Right. If you can't see his attractive face during those 2 years, you're looking at his attractive handwriting and be like, "What a handsome hand."
Something like that. Yep. So so he came home from his mission, and we got married, and then. So I kind of actually stopped playing the bagpipes a little bit off and on because I had, as we started having kids, at the point where I was teaching school too. I got my degree in elementary education, so I was teaching full time and trying to put him through school, and I had these 2 kids. I mean, gosh, my life story. How can you do this to me, James? My first child, I got preeclampsia and had to go on bed rest for a month. Ooh. Yeah. And so, and then even then, I went in for a checkup, and they're like, we have to take him now. He was a month and a half early.
Oh, wow.
And so we were in the hospital for 2 weeks, and, trying to figure out the feeding tubes and the oxygen,
right.
and geez.
To what degree does I don't understand. I'm no medical doctor, but a little more than half of a person's DNA comes from their mom. So your smallness, even at full term, did that translate to super smallness for your baby?
Funnily enough, as a preemie baby, he was like over 6 pounds, which is huge. He's bigger than me.
Full term.
Yeah, my problem was something completely different. We didn't want to get into the medicals of it, but it was basically the umbilical cord was like malformed, and that's probably why my belly button is so small. Now you can't see me, but my belly button's tiny.
Of course I didn't know that, but I wish I could have said something like, "Oh yeah, I've heard you have a tiny belly button." Now we finally
now you know
why.
what I'm really famous for is my belly button. Bagpipes aside, but yeah, and so he was big, but he wasn't ready to come out yet.
Yeah, still premature, sure.
Yeah, and so having him, and I needed to take a break, so I took a break from bagpipes. Man. And I was just teaching full time, but I loved the bagpipes, and so I was trying to get back into it, and ended up with my second child. I stopped working full time, and so we kind of moved in with my parents into their basement. There's no shame at the time. Like I kind of felt like some people shamed us on it, a little bit. But nowadays it's like, oh, everybody just moves in and out as they need to. But at the time I was like, nope, I want to be with my kids and I need to be there full time, especially with my oldest because he was kind of developmentally delayed and just needed me there full time. So I had my 2 little kids and Cooper was he was just finishing up college and trying to find a job. And this was a hard time. And so I got back into the bagpipes after my second was born with White Peaks. And it was like my one thing that filled my bucket. It's like my one thing that I did that wasn't being a mom.
Right, yeah.
So I was really grateful for that. Got lots of sun in those parades and
a couple of minutes to yourself to practice and things like that.
But then by my 3rd kid, I started developing what's called diastasis recti, which is where your abdominal muscles are split apart from having kids.
Oh,
and
I know about this. Yeah.
Do you really? Wow, you're so smart.
I basically
you
am
are
a medical
super
doctor,
smart.
Actually.
Wow.
Yeah, like I haven't gone to school for it, but I think I could probably like deliver and stuff. It'd be fine.
Wow. Well, if I was still having babies, maybe, in a pinch, I'd call you, James.
Right.
Okay, so I started getting this thing where I'd go on parades, and then on the way home, I would just have this really sharp pain. It felt like, I was like, is my kilt too tight? What's going on here? And so it was just like, almost felt like a cramp that wouldn't go away. And it was just like this sharp pain. And I'm like, what the heck? So I just remember being in agony on the car rides home from things, especially if they were far away, and just like, what is wrong with me? And so basically I was getting, a mini hernia kind of every time I played the bagpipes. And so I was like, oh, crumb. So I had to stop playing for a while. And so my doctor's like, you probably need to lay off on the bagpipes for a while and build up your abdominal wall. So I was doing crunches and sit-ups and stuff. And I quit the band for a while there and had a couple more kids. And let's see, where are we now?
Heck, if I can't play bagpipes, I'll just have a few more babies.
Yeah, seriously, man. Yep. So now we're at the point where we moved to Payson. Our first home was in Payson, actually, right across from Taylor Elementary. And I loved it. I could almost basically kick my kid across the street and they'd be at school.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I was in bagpipes on and off in Payson and had to quit for a while there. And I wasn't doing a lot of theater performing either. I was teaching theater, but I wasn't really doing it myself. I tried it for a couple of community plays and didn't get a lead. And I was like, maybe I don't have as much time for this as I thought I did. Because I'm so embarrassed to say I'd gotten so many good roles as a teenager. Here's my kid. Close the door, sweetheart.
It's no problem.
Go. No, yep, you're lucky. Yeah, and so I was like, well, it's the time commitment, and if I'm not going to have a lead, then I'm probably not going to go do it, which is so snotty, and I'm so embarrassed to even admit that.
I totally feel like you can feel like, oh no, there's no small part. I should be willing to take the part and stuff like that. But no, seasons of life and stuff, you can only budget so many of your minutes out of your 24 hours, and so right. It totally does make sense. It's not snotty.
Yeah, but it's okay. I mean, and every once in a while they would throw me in as a part. Like if a kid was absent for a performance, they'd be like, Laura, you're the short one. You go do this part. And I have a good memory. And so sometimes I could do the kids' parts. Like I did some solos in Narnia and I played, just recently they did it to me. I had to play Olaf in Frozen because I had 3 days to learn that part. It was insane, but it's fun. I get a rush out of it. So I'm like, I love performing. I love singing. I love dancing. I love acting. And I love playing the musical instruments. So, this is my element. Yeah. I'm sorry. I don't know how to explain it. People just say, how did you get this way? I'm like, I don't know. I just came this way.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things that I love so much about precisely doing this show is I love hearing how unexpected turns, random happenstance, things like that all kind of come together to bring us to where we are. It's a fascinating thing to look back on and then to think what's going to happen next,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Taylor Elementary, if it matters to you, that's where my wife went to elementary school, and so
oh my gosh,
I'm just still having fun with this kind of stuff.
Beautiful. Love Taylor. I love Taylor Elementary. I loved the teachers there, and the principal was fabulous.
When I was a kid, we'd do the Hershey track meet, right?
Yes.
All the elementary schools would get together and compete.
You're going to talk about making fun of the other schools' names, aren't you?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So for me, tell me if it was the same for you. For me, we at Barnett were the Barnett Buttheads.
Yep,
and
Barnett Buttheads,
Taylor
Toilets.
Taylor Toilets, yeah. So,
yep, and Wilson Wieners.
The Wilson Wieners, yep.
Yep.
Were there,
or
that
Wilson
was all
Wimps.
3 of them, right? Were there others? I think
Yep, that was
all
it.
of them, right? Yeah.
That was all of them in Payson. Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. That was still going around.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun for my wife and I now that anytime we're upset with each other, we can just call each other a Barnett Butthead or a Taylor Toilet.
I love that. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So let's see, where are we at now?
So you had more kids.
Okay.
But you definitely got back into bagpipes at some point, because I feel like we're now veering closer and closer to the Evermore Park thing.
We're getting close to Evermore.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so after at some point, so my husband kept saying, like, Laurie, you need a hobby, because being a stay-at-home mom with 5 kids under the age of 8,
Right.
off and on, was really hard on my emotional wellness. And I was not emotionally well. I mean, like,
I think it would be hard for anyone, but considering your personality and what your experience in life had been up to that point, that's a pretty stark contrast.
Yeah. And so it was hard not to get that, validation, and weird not. But so, like, I wanted to play the bagpipes, but I literally didn't feel like I had time.
Yeah.
And so bagpipes came and went, but I ended up getting a job teaching music at my kids' school 1 year, just because my husband was on the night shift, and I'm like, well, while you're sleeping and while some of our kids are at home, you can kind of like be awake until I get off of the school job. We made that kind of happen. And so I went, that was my like foray back into working.
Yeah.
And I loved being the music teacher at my kids' school. So that was my creative outlet at that moment. And so I did a whole unit on.
Wait. Hang on just one sec.
Oh.
Laura. Hang on a sec. Our internet connection just got weak for a sec.
Oh, dear.
Okay, we're good again. It was just funny because it cut off right when you said, I did a whole unit on, and then it went dead. So just back up a little bit and just tell me, you did a whole unit on what?
On Irish stuff and Scottish stuff in March, because I'm like, okay, well, if I'm the teacher, I get to teach what I want.
Yeah.
And so I taught them like a little bit of Irish dancing,
fun.
for that. And I taught them, we listened to some Enya songs and analyzed them and drew how they made us feel. And then on St. Patrick's Day, the week of, I played my bagpipes and taught the kids how the bagpipes worked. And since that was just a highlight, and getting to play the bagpipes for all the elementary school kids, and I played it for the entire school outside and said, anyone who wants to come can come listen to it. And so that was
I have gone and played pipes for my kids' classes, and that it definitely, like, for any gigging piper, I don't think there's a more validating or fun gig in the world than to have kids get excited and ask you questions, and even when they cover their ears, it's fun.
Yes, and yes, for some of them, that's the first time they've ever actually seen bagpipes, and when you open them up and show them there's all these secrets inside, just seeing their faces light up, like, that's how they work. Like, they're like, you can see the little wheels turning in their heads, like. What music is kind of music is kind of scientific,
Right.
Got to have physics and stuff to make the bagpipes even work.
Music, yeah.
And if I was, and because I'm a performer, I'd always teach kids, and I still do, in my Scottish accent if they're really good. But if they get noisy, then I stop, and they're so quiet because they want to hear the Scottish accent again.
Yeah. It's not that if they're not being good, you switch to the Mississippi accent to punish them.
They ask for all kinds of accents. I can do my Mississippi accent. I'll just only if they're good. I do all my accents. Yeah, and so I was like, oh yeah, I love bagpipes, and so I actually, okay, how did I hear about Garden Valley? How did I hear about it?
We might have asked you directly when we were getting started in 2015. That was part of how we would get to competition numbers. We were like, all right, let's find all of our friends who we used to play with who have stopped playing. And
that was me.
Make the band really family friendly. So if they want to bring their kids, they can bring their kids. Let's try to overcome hurdles that might be keeping them from playing right now. And we just started reaching out to people.
Oh my gosh, I was so thankful. I think you guys started out by just asking me to come to parades.
Yeah.
Just like kind of eased me into it. It's like, oh, and by the way, here's the music, and we're, at this park, and you can learn the music, and, and by the way, your kids can come get, free drumming lessons. And I was like, that's it. I'm sold. Because my son had shown an interest in drumming.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, let's do this, and I had hopes and dreams that he would stick with the Scottish snare, but he ended up not sticking with that. But
there's still time.
But he does.
Again.
but he is in percussion. He plays the bass drum in marching band, and he plays your percussion ensemble in high school. And I've got a high schooler, James. My kid's in high school.
Is that weird?
Yeah, super weird. But yeah, so joined Garden Valley, eased in there, and
didn't you at some point in this? Tell me if I'm wrong. I was thinking that somewhere in that time frame, you also started doing work with the school district for music. Is that right?
Yes. Okay, so I was the music teacher at my kids' school, and then I had to quit that job, and I ended up getting. It all turned out, and I'm like, somebody's got to stay home with the kids that are still at home, and so I started looking for jobs for him. And I came across this district job that was like a music specialist, music integration. And my friend Melanie Fillmore did that job. And I was like looking it up, and I'm like, maybe I could do that. Having a full-time teaching job, I'd be making just about as much or more than he was making at his current job. And I'm like, well, maybe we do a life shift and I go back to work full-time and you be stay-at-home dad and like get your master's degree or something online. Because, we just need to figure out a way to help get you, the jobs that are going to help make ends meet and not have an income problem.
Right.
And so that ended up being what we did. I got that job with the Nebo School District. And so I keep telling people, I don't know how I'm so blessed. So teaching youth theater is my dream job. I get to teach kids and sing and teach dances and build sets and paint. Love working with kids, and they call me Princess Laura because
oh, that's awesome.
I told them I was a princess. I even had it on my Mama case. I worked at a restaurant in high school as a waitress, and I literally asked them if they could put Princess Laura on my name tag for Mama K's. And so I would wear that to theater. I don't know, because I have no shame. And so I'm like, yep, I'm Princess Laura. And so I've always been Princess Laura.
It's official if it's on your name tag.
Absolutely. And so I'm like, this is my dream job. I get to teach youth theater.
Yeah.
And then I got the job teaching my kids, teaching music at my kids' school just as the music teacher. I'm like, never mind. This is my dream job.
Yeah.
And then I got this job teaching for the school district where so I have an education degree. So my job is to kind of like be a coach, and I don't have a classroom of my own, but I teach teachers how to teach their other subjects with music at the same time. So math, science, spelling, social studies.
Cool.
And music at the same time. And I'm like, I was made for this job.
Right,
well, I'm like, I feel like I was made for this job. Like I have an element. So not only, because not every one of the specialists in the district has been a classroom teacher.
Right.
But I'm like, I get their situation. I can appeal to, because, teaching right now is so hard. You have so many things on they have so many things on their plate.
Yeah.
And I'm like, my job is, designed to try and ease that burden and make teaching fun and help them remember the joy of teaching and make it fun for the kids and memorable. And, because teaching, just music in general and the arts. So the district does music, dance, visual arts, and drama. Mm-hmm. And so we integrate all the arts into the subjects. And so it makes it more fun and memorable and,
I don't remember if Zach mentioned this to you, but the reason I knew that you had something to do with the school district was that Nebo School District is the school district that Zach and I both grew up in. And so he was scheming with me. Now we've got Laura. We could use her as our connection to get practice chanters into the elementary schools to replace recorders. And we'll have a practice chanter program through the whole school district. And we will, it'll become like this massive feeder program for all the bands.
Well, James, I actually did reach out.
Did you really?
Yes.
I didn't know how far it had gone.
Yes, I reached out and my supervisor said, well, talk to the principals, and the individual principals at each elementary school can decide if they want it or not. And, and most of them, some of them didn't even have a music class at their school. So it's and the music teachers, you don't have to have a music degree to teach music in elementary level. We're very intimidated by that. And you know what I mean? Or some of them were, but they liked the idea. And, and I think what it came down to, unfortunately, was the cost.
Yeah.
And
that's part of why I have a 3D printer sitting here. That was part of Zach's scheme, is he bought this 3D printer and sent it to me. He's like, we got to figure out a way to make really cheap practice chanters.
Yeah.
To get these out.
And and we could just talk. We could talk for another whole hour on how Zach influenced my bagpiping and my kids' drumming and just how generous he was, to give of his time to work with me on my bagpipes. I only ever soloed once to compete. And that was when he worked with me. He gave me private lessons out of his home. And I got to solo and compete with a Caledonian Canal, which I love that song.
That's a great song. Yeah.
Love it, love it. And so, yeah, and it was close. It's still the dream. Like, I mean, I'm still with the district, and I still, you know, I train the music teachers who are in the elementary schools.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if it would be an after school thing, or, you know, if it would be, because like we're having a hard time even getting sometimes teachers to teach recorders still, like,
right, yeah.
and ukuleles and stuff. Like, they're supposed to learn an instrument. It's in the core, but since it's not tested, sometimes, you know, the arts, they just get, you know,
kind of slide away.
A little slide away. But nope, hey, you know, I was on board with that, and I think some of the schools were worried about the cost there and how much that would cost and what we could ask kids to do. But
I wonder about I was talking to a penny whistle guy recently who's that episode will be out here pretty soon. And, you know, there's a lot of transferable skills, and penny whistles are very readily available as far as cost goes.
Oh gosh, they're only like $10. But I mean, even the 3D printed chanters weren't going to be that expensive.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, did I mention?
Oh, go ahead. No. You mention.
Well, speaking of penny whistles, so after in my junior year, I actually got to travel to the UK with the people's student ambassadors. You know, they send you that stuff in the mail, and they're like, give us money, and we'll take you over to the UK. And and ever since I got my bagpipe friends, I was heavily into the Scottish Irish culture. I mean, our favorite movie was Braveheart, and we listened to Lorena McKennitt music, and just, oh my gosh. And so I'm like, Mom, I gotta go. And so I paid half for that. Yeah. And I bought a penny whistle in Ireland,
so
a tin whistle.
Super authentic. You got the real deal from the motherland.
I got a story about that penny whistle. So I was like, okay, if I play the bagpipes, I can play this penny whistle. And so I would learn songs on the penny whistle. And I didn't get super into it, but I, you know, would play it for my kids when I would teach them. But I've had this penny whistle with me for so long, which I eventually actually lost at Evermore.
No. Is it still somewhere in the park? This is a new challenge. Anybody going to Evermore Park, there will be a reward if you can find the lost penny whistle.
I've actually lost 2 penny whistles at Evermore now. So there's 2 of them floating around there somewhere. How embarrassing. But yeah, so the penny whistle, man, if we could get, you know, the dream is not gone, you know. Maybe someday, James, maybe someday.
That I don't want to I still want to hear the rest of your story, but it feels like maybe this is a good natural spot to mention, like, this is the whole idea behind the like the Zach Memorial album that we're working on, that you're going to have a track or 2 on, and that album is intended to stand by itself, just as like a way for a bunch of Zach's friends to kind of put together this thing that will exist, you know, for all of us to listen to and for his kids to listen to and that kind of thing. But the idea is also that it kicks off the launch of this sort of charity that we're setting up in his memory, that is specifically to carry on how generous he was with his time and skills. He was a really amazingly good piper, like competitive in grade 1, could have gone to open, but, you know, just because there's not a lot of opportunity to compete and stuff like that, maybe chose not to. But also an amazing snare drummer, and all the time was giving free lessons to people. And his whole idea was he wanted to have better instruction when he was younger, but couldn't afford it. So he's just like giving constantly. And so the whole idea is like, if we can gather money through albums and events and stuff like that, then we can pay for people's tuition to go to piping schools, or to get their drums and sticks, or their pads and sticks, or their practice chanters or whatever, to remove those cost barriers, because that's what he was doing when he was alive. And so
he was also no, it's okay. And he was also encouraging about like going the next step and like getting that professional, you know, education in the bagpipes and in the drumming. And, you know, he would always be like, you know, be there for resources, and like, here, look this up, and here you can go here. And, you know, the ones that he had done himself. Like, I was always so amazed at how good he was, and like, what are you doing in Utah?
Yeah, like, honestly, like, I love Garden Valley Pipe Band, of course, you know, but he could have, he did at times travel to compete with higher grade bands, and that's where he could have been spending his time, but he chose not to focus on getting more medals for himself. He spent all of his time with us folks, you know, to lift the rest of us.
Yeah, just like now, every time I think about him, I'm just like, he was just so singularly unique in that aspect. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know anyone like him.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, well, let's get this Kickstarter going then, and hopefully whatever I can do to help out and
Yeah, I'll make sure there are links
adding
links
some
in the
tracks.
show notes too. Yeah, we're raising some money for the album right now. It's going to be great. It's going to come out about the time of in January
Yeah.
of 2023. That's his birthday happens to fall on Burns Night, so that's very convenient. And then
Ooh.
he passed away just a few days after, so it's all kind of right around
Yeah.
the
All
same
the same
days.
time.
So we'll release the album about that time. But
All right.
but can you still tell me more stories, or have I taken too much of your time?
I'm fine to
Okay.
keep. So the only reason I'm able to do all this stuff, I have a very supportive husband. He's kind of an introvert, and so he knows that I need to like get out there and be seen and entertain people and talk, and so
You two are a good yin yang kind of couple, huh?
very much so. And like I could talk forever about my husband and how and ties into all that geeky kind of a medieval feel stuff that our family culture's kind of definitely gone that way. But I know you want to hear about Evermore, and
I do.
I'm so sorry.
No. I want to
Taking
hear
me
all
this
of
long
this
to
that
get
we've
there.
Yeah, I want to hear everything that you've already told us as well. So no sweat. So with no rush, just keep carrying me along the timeline.
All right.
How we get there.
Here we go. Okay, we jump back into the story. This is where the story really.
Okay, wait a sec. Wait 1 sec. Wait, we got an internet thing here again.
I laughed too loud. That's what it
That's
was.
it. You scared the GBs off. Okay, I think we're good now. Go ahead. We're jumping
Sure
back
thing.
in.
Okay, so here we are. My husband has a master's degree. I'm teaching for the school district, and we've been following the Evermore Park. You know, just kind of like it's been talked about on Facebook, and all our friends are kind of excited about it. It's just going to be this immersive theme park where it's like D&D in real life was how they marketed it, and we were seeing like steampunk costumes, and they went to FanX. And so they opened up the fall of 2018. And I love dressing up. And so we put together a couple of costumes. And for date night, we went to Evermore theme park for date night.
Like in the early days, like when they first were opening up.
And there were pumpkins everywhere. But even then, it was so magical just to walk in there and see these buildings and the lighting and even the smells. They like were pumping in smells. And they had you go on quests, and it was the funnest date night. Arts, and it's like I was so competitive. I'm like, I gotta get a bullseye because like you have to get a bullseye in archery or axe throwing to join the Black Hearts. But they would really be like kind of forgiving, be like, oh, close enough. You can still join.
Right. Yeah.
And so it was so magical. And I'm like, Cooper, we gotta bring our kids here. Our kids would love this.
Yeah.
And so we brought our kids the next time we went, in that fall. It was kind of expensive to take a whole family because, like, I think the tickets were like between $20 and $30 at the time. And I'm like, this is Utah County.
Right.
We got a lot of kids.
Yeah, a lot of kids. My wife and I finally took our kids for the first time just a couple of weeks ago. It was like, that was awesome.
Oh,
we should
wow.
go all the time, but maybe we can't because it
Right.
is a little. We'll go as often
I
as
know.
we can.
So, right. And back in those days, I mean, when they first started out, they're just, I don't know, it was so magical and fun. And so we took our kids there. And then, they did their winter season, which was Aurora, which was kind of a Christmas season. And we went again with our kids and just had a blast and just got way into it. And the characters were so fun. And then my husband saw online that they were opening tryouts, to be a cast member. And he's like, you should do it. And I'm like, I want to so bad, but there's no way I'm going to make, I mean, these were like really talented people. And,
Yeah.
they were, highly acclaimed. And so I'm like, no, I'm too embarrassed. No. And he's like, do it. And he's like, what?
For anybody listening who hasn't put it together yet, it's like this immersive thing. So it's like performers, but not performers on a stage. Like they're living their character constantly.
Yeah.
And it's like all improv too, because it's like anybody could walk up to you and you got to be in character and interact with them and stuff.
Yeah. So it's like, and I tell people, it's kind of like a cross between being like a Disney princess, only you give quests and, you are improving the whole time.
Yeah, you don't have
like
handlers around you like the Disney princesses do to take care of people. Like they can walk right up to you and you just got to handle it. You just got to talk with them.
Yep. But it was, I don't know. I'm just getting so excited just talking about, I can't even think straight. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do it, Cooper. And he said, you should take your bagpipes and like play for them. And I'm like, no, that's going a little too far. That's going to make me, a little too weird. Like that's presumptuous. Like, and you should hire me because I play the bagpipes. Well, turns out, it's a good thing I listened to him because I showed up there and had my bagpipes with me and my penny whistle. And at the tryouts, they just asked me, okay, well, is there anything you want to show us? And I was like, yes, I want to play my bagpipes for you. So I pulled up my bagpipes and I played Star Wars, the theme song Star Wars on them.
Interesting and choice for the sort of like medieval fantasy themed park.
Right. Well, I don't know how this happened, but one of the guys that was, casting, his name's Josh Shipley. He's the creative director. Was a huge Star Wars fan, and I didn't even know it. And so,
as if guided by Providence,
possibly. And so, I definitely attribute the fact that I was cast to my bagpipes. They cast me as just a acting troupe member. Like, you're going to be in the acting troupe, which means you're basically just street performers. And they didn't even give us names. Actually, they said you can come up with your own names. And backstories, and some of the characters they would give names and backstories too. But for us, they're just like, we just know we need an acting troupe of street performers that kind of have miscellaneous talents and can, just entertain people on the streets.
Like jugglers, fire dancers, and bagpipers.
Yep. Little skits and little, dancing and all kinds of stuff. And so, that was what I did with my bagpipes, and the rest is history, as they say.
And so the character name you came up with, of course,
was Piper.
Piper, classy.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm going to put several links in the show notes to some videos of you in the park performing and stuff like that.
Sure thing.
It's super fun. And anybody who can make it to Utah to go to Evermore Park, I do recommend it. It is a ton of fun. Did you ever play in Vander's Keep, the restaurant there on site, or was it all in the park?
Okay, so there's the Vander's Keep is kind of a separate entity, but the same. So yeah, I never, as an actor, as a character, let's say cast member, I was cast to be in park, in the outdoor park.
Right.
And Vander's Keep is kind of its own separate thing. They do have Irish bands come and play. I have a couple of friends that play in those, like the Real Folk and stuff. And no, I just never really I wasn't in any of those bands, and I was just always performing as a character. Yeah. When I would have been doing that. And so, I never got a chance to perform in Vander's, but it's a wonderful restaurant. It's beautiful. The atmosphere is great, and the live music is fabulous.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, super cool. So you're not currently performing at Evermore Park. Is that because the seasons changed and so they've like rotated stuff out, or have you just got too much stuff going on?
Well, no, I'm so embarrassed because I've been working with Evermore pretty much every weekend, for the last
Because I thought I saw, did you put something on Facebook or something that was kind of like I'm so sad, like, did you quit or something, or what's up there?
Man, it's just it's so interesting because I don't know how I've been able to do this the last couple years. I've had a full-time teaching job. I teach youth theater, and I've been working at Evermore.
Plus
and I have 5 kids.
Yep.
And I actually, for my religion, I have different callings that, I take my time up and I, do temple stuff, and I'm a temple worker. And so I was just like, how do I do all this stuff? But I couldn't give anything up.
One of the things that you just listed is like a full-time job. So it is remarkable that you...
And the only reason I could do it is because my family was really supportive. And every time I would go to Evermore, my husband would watch my kids, and my kids would be so excited for me. They're like, tell us what happens. And they got way into the culture of it, and they would create costumes and bring trinkets to trade with the characters, and we all got so into the culture that it was like a family thing, and they would come when they could. You know what I mean? So it was like our happy place, and so that was the reason why I was able to keep doing it. And just recently, in the middle of the summer season, I've been I was cast as the barmaid. It was so fun. It was still very fun. And just halfway through the season, one of my kids was like, "Oh, do you have to go? I wish you could stay with us." Yeah. I was like, "Oh, wow! It only took 2 years, almost 3 years, 3 years now." And finally, my kids are like, "We kind of need mom to be physically available more." And so I'm like, you know what? I just have a feeling that I need to take a very long, break, but with the hope that I can still, and they've told me that because I've been there for so long and they know me, and hopefully I've not burned any bridges,
Right, right.
When you've got time, we'll see what we get back. Appearances, every once in a while, just
Yeah.
a couple per season. We'll see. But yeah, so right now I'm very heavily focused on physically being available for all my kids.
Well, totally understandable.
Yeah.
This has come up in other interviews here before as well. That like so often, and like I've heard like some of my guests have suggested like it might be that people who are drawn to bagpipes are like really generally going to be like high achieving people, like they really want to do great at whatever it is they're doing, and that might actually even feed into this idea that like if you're not doing bagpipes really well, like at a high competitive level and performing well and stuff, you shouldn't do it at all. And that's like an internal talk thing that I think we end up having sometimes, where what we really need to recognize is like there are seasons of life, and there's a time for different things, and if you have to let go of something for a little while, that doesn't mean forever. You can pick it up again later. So.
Yeah, that's my watchword now. Times and seasons, guys. Times and seasons.
There you go.
Yeah. But yeah, I loved my time at Evermore playing the bagpipes. And I wasn't in a bagpipe band, even though, I kept ties with like Garden Valley and stuff. I'm like, I just can't. There's no time. There's literally no time to do it.
Yeah. Totally.
So I was only playing my bagpipes like in a very kind of a one-off entertainment value where I would play similar songs, but I wasn't competing. I wasn't learning any very difficult songs or pushing myself as a bagpiper, However, I did push myself as a musician because I loved performing so much at Evermore. I'm like, I got to find some more authentic instruments that I can, carry around with me. So I bought myself a bowrin, an Irish drum, and I learned it, on my own. And I bought a couple of penny whistles to replace the ones I lost. And I bought I bought a concertina, and I learned how to play that.
Awesome.
and I picked up the fiddle. I don't, I bought myself one, but I'm not good enough to play like in front of people yet, really.
Fiddle's one of those, right, where like if you're not good, it's kind of terrible.
It sounds awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I play the guitar. Oh, and I bought a little travel guitar. I've always played the guitar ever since I was like maybe
but those
15.
travel ones, they kind of look like kind of lute-ish kind of thing,
yes.
right? Yeah.
Well, no, that's not the one I have. I have like a mini Cordoba, so it just looks like a little guitar.
Gotcha.
But maybe I do need to invest in one of those. There's a guy at Evermore who plays that. He plays a dwarf, so
Gotcha.
He plays a travel guitar. But yeah, so it pushed me as a musician and to just create music. Like I created more music working at Evermore than I have ever in my whole life. And I write music, I've always written music, but just I got so into the story and the characters that I just cared so much about it. I'm like, I want to do it justice, and I want to entertain people. I want to make magic for the customers that come in, and music. And you'd hear me say this. This was like my quote. It's like, music is magic. Music was literally magic. Part of the plot one time, we were like, we healed all the people's brains by having people sing them a song, and then they would get their memories back. Just so it would, to give a quest people could do is, I teach them a song, they go sing a little bit of it to these people, and then their memories are healed.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
So,
sounds.
Well, first of all, at piping at Evermore, when you did have pipes, was it always Highland pipes, or did you use some small pipes too?
Only ever Highland pipes. I don't own a set of small pipes.
I'm so sorry, Laura. Hang on a sec. I just went to download our file, and that was too much for my internet again. Go ahead. Sorry. So only Highland pipes,
you're
never
good.
Small pipes.
Yes, only the Highland bagpipes. I don't even own a set of small pipes. I've never played a set of small pipes. I'm embarrassed.
Oh, there's nothing to be embarrassed about there. Honestly, I respect that. That's sometimes small pipes can be like an easier route for things like those gigs. You have to play for a long time out in the cold, that kind of stuff.
Well, I'd love to get into it. Maybe I should, buy myself a set for my next birthday. My birthday present to me.
The next thing, heck yeah.
Yeah, but it was kind of cool having the bagpipes at Evermore Park because they were so loud. It was the loudest thing in the park. And so sometimes if the technology wasn't working well, they would use my bagpipes as like a signal to do stuff.
Oh, sure.
Like, hey, everybody meet at the front of town now and, or whatever.
Now, how did the playing bagpipes with helium, did you encounter the King of Random people via playing at Evermore? Because I feel like that all happened at the same time, right?
Yes. So Cal Gade, who she works with King of Random, one of the hosts, she was with the original cast. She played a witch named Wen Weaver. And and so she was one of our favorite characters, actually. And then she took a break from working at Evermore for a couple seasons, and that's when I got hired on. But then she came back, and we got to know each other kind of as cast members. And so I didn't even know she did King of Random. She's very modest and, doesn't like to talk about herself a lot. And so it was randomly just one day, the day of, I guess, she messaged me on Facebook and was like, I don't know if you're even available. Can you come play bagpipes? We're doing this weird helium thing, and I thought that'd be a fun instrument to use. And so it was very last minute, but very cool. And I'm like, yeah, I've got some time for sure. Yeah. And so I just drove to the place where they do it, and it was very quick doing that helium. I didn't even know if it was going to work. I'm like, I don't know the science behind this. What if it doesn't work?
I'll put a link to this in the show notes as well. And we'll play a little audio right here of bagpipes on helium.
Well, we've now had a wonderful sampling of that with normal air, and I think now we want to see if we can pull that off with our other gases.
I'm getting ready for this.
All right, that's pretty full. There's your balloon. Do what you can do. Probably used up most of it. That was so great. It didn't let you stay in any one key. I was just like, let's go to 6 different keys.
I didn't know if it was possible to make the bagpipes sound more out of tune.
Oh boy,
but I think we just did it.
Beautiful, man. This is beautiful.
How are you feeling? You like
Oh
it?
yeah, no, this is normal for bagpipers.
It'll be interesting if you can notice that it's.
That's a ding.
Oh my God.
Well, there you go. That is a new low.
I didn't think it would work either. It didn't come up in my conversation with Swan when I was telling about this time when I was a rich person's bard for a while. But one of the things that Tony, the rich guy, wanted to do with bagpipes the first day I met him is he told me that he wanted to try pumping different kinds of gas through them to see if I remember what kind of gas makes your voice lower. But he was like, I want to see if.
Yeah, I think it's called hexasulfide or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I know there's some sulfur thing in there.
Yeah.
But he said he wanted to pump that stuff through it to see if it took the sound down lower. He wanted to do helium to see if it took it higher, and nitrous oxide and all kinds of other stuff. And I told him then, I was like, I don't know if that'll work because I thought that vibration was vibration, so as long as the reed was vibrating, it would sound just the same. Your video proved me wrong.
Yeah, I was genuinely surprised. And that's part of the reaction I got. I'm so embarrassed because it's no, I really am a better bagpiper than this. I could barely even keep a straight face. I was so surprised and laughing so hard.
Right.
And my mind went blank. I almost forgot how to play Scotland the Brave. It was embarrassing.
No, and nothing. Anybody watching, Piper or no, of course you can recognize this is a non-standard situation. It's just entertaining.
Right.
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
Nothing to be embarrassed about.
Yeah, but it was so fun.
Yeah.
Yep. So genuine surprise there.
Yeah, well, that's super fun. So check that video out. If I think it's fun. It was fun to watch. So I'll put that in the show notes as well.
Yeah.
So what about now? Tell me, how do you feel about the bagpipes? What kind of hole would be left in your life if you'd never picked them up?
Oh my gosh. They've opened so many doors for me. And I've gotten to know so many people, and I've done so many unique things and experiences that if I hadn't picked up those bagpipes and stuck with it, it just kept coming back to them, even though I kept coming away from them, because I have been off and on, I think my life would not be, I would be a different person. I think that's part of the magic of my life is this particular instrument and just getting into that culture of the Irish music and Scottish music and being with those people. And being able to do it at Evermore has just been a dream come true. So that was my actual real dream job.
Right, that's right. I wonder what the next real dream job is going to be.
There can't be anything more than that. I mean,
there can't be, right?
I don't think so. Yeah.
It'll be something like Evermore Park opening like for one of their summer camps and being like, now we need a music coordinator instructor at the park. Or something, right?
Actually, help run it like a year or two ago, but that was back when I, had more time and motivation.
Yeah.
But in combining kids, oh my gosh, yep, summer camps at Evermore, teaching bagpipes. Maybe that'll be the next place we learn them at. I think there was talk at one point to like open it up like Gardner Village. You know how you can go to Gardner Village and just walk through that, the ambiance in the village without paying any admission to go in. There was some talk at Evermore about opening it up to the public or parts of it during the daytime when they weren't doing shows. And maybe that'll happen someday. But just to make it a community center where like musicians and actors and people who want to learn how to sword fight and archery and stuff can just hang out and chill and meet and stuff. So that may happen someday.
Yeah. But
yeah, definitely want to include the bagpipes in there somewhere.
Yeah.
I was going to tell you when I was, I'm sorry I'm taking all your time.
No.
But I was telling you that, funnily enough, some of the most fulfilling moments in the last, year or so have come from working at Evermore, and the bagpipes opened up that door. But so this character that I played, Piper, like it's been hard to like separate the character from me. And so you get to know people that come in, because regulars will come in and like they know my character Piper.
Yeah.
But that's not really Laura, but it kind of is, because like I'm just kind of act like myself mostly. But like I actually did develop like relationships with people, like just friendships, and to see the same people coming back, and they like would help my character through her story, and just like help her do quests and stuff.
That's one of the things about Evermore, right? Like you can go once and have fun and join a guild and stuff like that, but there are like these larger, bigger storylines and mysteries and quests, and so you can come back and back and back, and like it keeps. It's not like it's a restart every time you come back. You kind of pick up where you left off and keep going, right?
They've kind of moved more because it was hard for the people that couldn't come every time.
Yeah.
They'd miss a lot, and so the story would progress too much almost. So they're trying to find that balance between, character turnover rate and what happens when an actor has to leave, and like, so right now there's a lot less deep story and the characters sticking around more than one season. But for my time there, that was pretty much the main character I played there. Was for 2 years, I counted it out once, like over almost 250 performances, for 5 hours at a time, playing this character.
And these are, in a way, progressive performances, right? Because it's not like a play where you're doing the same show 250 times. It's night B follows what happened on night A, and then night C follows that.
Yeah, or it just goes deeper into whatever's going on. You don't have to go forward. You can just go deeper.
Right, yeah.
But playing the bagpipes there was actually this really cute couple. I mean, we had a lot of couples that, met each other at Evermore and proposed. But this really cute couple showed up for a date night one night and asked me, it was towards the end of the night, and sometimes I would do like requests, because like I could play by ear, and it's like, well, I've only got 9 notes, but I'll do my best. And so I said, okay, do you have any requests? And he said, okay, this is way out of there. There's no way you're going to know this, but I have always wanted to hear Star Wars on the bagpipes. And I was like, oh man, did you come to the right bagpiper? And so I played that song for them, and he cried. Like, he was like, this is a lifelong dream. And so this cute couple would come back occasionally, and, and they'd all say hi to me, and I'd play Star Wars for them. And recently they asked me to play at their wedding. But they said, but like, is there any way you can like kind of dress up as Piper? And I'm like, well,
right, not Laura.
Yeah,
have Piper come and play at their wedding.
Exactly, because it's just that character. Oddly enough, stories are important, and I think so for the people who like don't read fantasy, I feel bad for them, because it's like, it doesn't matter if it's a fantasy story or not. All stories are important because people are stories. That's all they are. And so sometimes a story can teach you how to, how to interact and how to live. And, just give you solutions to problems in your own real life through a fantasy story. And so they said this character was such a huge part of our courtship and, getting together and deciding to get married and stuff. We want her to play at our wedding. Yeah. And so I'm like, well, the costume belongs to Evermore, and I don't think I can really rent it out. I mean, I wasn't even playing that character at the time, but I pieced together like bits of that, costume, like kind of bounding. You know what bounding is? Like when you're Disney bounding, you kind of dress like that character.
Yeah, gotcha, yeah.
So like I put together as many pieces as I could, and I showed up at their wedding just a month or two ago. That was just last month. And I played at their wedding as Piper, and it was beautiful and wonderful.
That is beautiful. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's super cool. Though that you're preaching my kind of gospel there, that the value of story, and I don't think we can even understand how deep that is. You know what I mean? Like, man, stories are important. I think about like these like self-help books, self-improvement books. Seem like they're fine. They're probably good, but I really think that there's probably deeper and more lasting self-improvement that comes from reading even, fiction, fantasy, that there's just something, it's magic.
And allowing, like, almost like, there's a quote by C.S. Lewis that says, one day I shall be old enough to go back to fairy tales, and realize the value in them. Yeah. And it's because I would say, like, that childlike innocence and giving yourself permission to play again and create and imagine. And like part of, playing the bagpipes and playing music is like, that's part of that play. You know what I mean? You get to play literally an instrument, but also with whatever culture you're with, if you're doing it in a band, or if you're doing, it with a theme park like I am, or on YouTube, just giving yourself permission to create and just keep playing.
That's got to be the best, most beautiful way to end this interview.
I love that.
She